Hey guys, it's Anthony Avina, and today I'm going to be reattempting to do the first part of my reading of Epicenter. Yesterday I spent a half hour reading the first chapter, and the video failed to record all the way. On top of that, the audio I was doing for my podcast also failed. So today I'm going to do each thing one at a time. I'm not going to read the entire chapter at once. Instead, I'm going to make little short videos detailing each section. Now, the first two sections of the book are short, so I'm going to be doing sections 1 through 3 of the first chapter as one video, and then probably section 4 as another video, section 5 as another video, and section 6. Each chapter of the book, the novella, has a different section. Or different sections, I should say. So, without further ado, here is Chapter 1, Parts 1 through 3 of Epicenter. Here we go. Chapter 1, Part 1. His name was Thomas King. Among all the other fuzzy details and haunting memories from the end of the world, that one man's name will forever be burned onto my brain. Part 2. My name is Clark Young. I was an FBI agent stationed in Los Angeles, California. I am 30 years old, and am happily married to my high school sweetheart, Monica. The events I am about to write down in these journals, or memoirs, or whatever it is you want to call them, or a look into the events that led to the current human populace in the horrific situation we are currently in. You see, when the world ends, the first question that people who are left ask is, how do we survive? That is a good question, but one that cannot be answered without knowing what led us to be in a situation where we have to survive to begin with. No. The most important question one must ask themselves is, how did this happen? Well, I am here to tell you. You see, not many people who survived the end of the world can say they were there at the beginning of the end. My wife and I, however, were there. We not only witnessed the end of everything we knew, but had a hand to play in the events that turned the world upside down. Whether we can survive the years to come and rebuild is a question I cannot answer. The only thing I can do is give you the facts, and hope that you can use the information I give you to prepare yourselves, and survive. Part 3. It was October 18th, 2013. I remember the day because it had been a day where 3 months of work and agitation finally came to an end. Little did I know that I was trading one horror for another. You see, during the middle of the previous summer, a string of brutal murders had occurred in the large metropolis of Los Angeles. The victims were all young women, between the ages of 18 and 28, and all of them were nurses or doctors. After the first week on the case, we had 4 victims. The killer was dubbed the LA Slayer by the press. The brutal murders consisted of a victim being cut open on the torso, as if the killer had been looking for something in their victim. While no organs were missing from the women's torsos, their skulls were also cut open on top, and their brains had been removed. The killer did not stage the victims in any sort of fashion. The murderous son of a bitch just threw them aside like trash. He hadn't replaced the brains with some sort of a memento or trophy or calling card like some serial killers and psychopaths like to do. However, we knew that the killings hadn't been committed where we found the bodies, because there was no blood on the scene. Therefore, the killing had been committed elsewhere. When the autopsy results came back on the first 4 victims, it was clear that the cuts on both the torso and skull had been done with a skilled hand, or someone who had experience with medical tools, such as bone saws and scalpels. I first focused my attention on surgeons at the hospitals the women worked at, but unfortunately, I couldn't gather a suspect. As I continued to investigate over the months, the death toll began to climb, until by that October day, we had a total of 16 victims, all killed in the same fashion. As an FBI profiler, I determined that our suspect was likely a white male, around 40 years old, with a background in medicine or scientific research. The killer likely lived alone and was an outsider who valued his privacy and had no ties to the community. He likely held an obsession with his work, both professionally and in the late-night killings he partook in. His father likely abandoned him when he was a boy, and his mother blamed him for the father leaving. The killer probably endured years of torment and resentment until finally he killed the mother, making it look like a medical incident. He probably adopted a new identity, gained a hefty payout from the mother's will, and went to medical school. The part I couldn't quite understand was taking of the brains. Many serial killers take mementos or harvest organs if they are cannibalistic, like Ed Gein from the 50s. But that didn't seem to match up with this person's psychological profile. The only guess I could muster up was that he was looking for something that he felt he was missing in his own mind. That theory felt faulty for myself and my colleagues. By the time that October 18th rolled around, I was at my wit's end. You see, on top of the pressure of capturing this sick piece of shit, I had a pregnant wife at home. We lived in a 2-bedroom studio apartment in the heart of Los Angeles, and although we did not want for much, the added pressure of parenthood was beginning to wear on me. I'd always known I wanted to have kids, but as an FBI agent, dealing with all the horror that humanity has inflicted on itself, I've always had a fear that I wouldn't be able to protect my family. That morning began as it always did. I woke up, and Monica was already up, showering and singing softly along with the radio. She loved to listen to the classic rock stations in the morning. I sat up and immediately began to build up my strength with some push-ups. I was no muscle man, but I stayed in shape so that I could be at the top of my game. I was about 6'4", 210 pounds, with short brown hair and a clean-shaven face. Although the last year had paled me some, I have always had a sort of olive-toned complexion, with hazel eyes. After about 100 push-ups, I stood up, stretched, and I made my way to the bathroom, hoping to hop into the shower with Monica. As I entered the bathroom, as I did every morning, I felt the air in my lungs suddenly escape me, for the sight of my wife always left me breathless. She was beautiful, with milk-white skin, long brown hair that stretched a little past her shoulder blades, and emerald green eyes. Standing at about 5'10", her curvy frame and thin figure were still evident, along with the beautiful figure that came with being 6 months pregnant. As the steamy water dripped down her body, she turned towards me, her eyes seeming to be on fire, and smiled, her full red lips parting slightly to show her beautiful grin. "Hey, babe, good morning," said Monica. "Good morning. How's our little boy this morning?" "Good. He woke me up at 5 o'clock this morning. He's starting to kick more often now, so my sleep cycle is going to be all over the place." "Get your ass in here. He's starting to kick again, so maybe you'll be able to feel it." I smiled, knowing that while she was joking, when she wanted something, she wouldn't take no for an answer. So I opened the glass door leading into the large shower, stepped up behind Monica, rested my head on top of her own, and placed my hand on her swelling stomach. Sure enough, as soon as I did, I felt the baby begin to kick, and as we laughed together, I turned her towards me and kissed her lips gently. We had been married for 5 years now, and every day still felt like our honeymoon. Okay, that's a little corny. Almost every day felt like our honeymoon, although once in a while we would have the occasional argument and fight. As we parted, I began to wash up with Monica, and we began to talk about the day ahead. "So, what are your plans for today?" she asked. "I've got to go over witness statements about the LA Slayer killings. I've about run my course with the little physical evidence I've got. What about you?" "I'm going to go to the store today, pick up some of that light blue paint we were looking at for the baby's room, and then we get some groceries so that I can make Mexican food." Don't worry about that, hun. I'll make dinner. Babe, just because I'm pregnant doesn't mean I can't cook. I know that, but I don't want you to hurt yourself cooking for us. I know you can do it, but you don't have to. Let me take care of dinner. Fine, but since you're going to be working hard on this case until it's finished, let's just do takeout or something, okay? Fine by me. How about pizza? Sounds good, she replied, then stopped and looked at me, a puzzled and quizzical look breaking out on her face. Babe, what was that physical evidence you said you had again? What? Oh, there was a paralytic substance known as saxitoxin, or shellfish poisoning. It was injected into the victims at the base of their necks. We checked with hospitals and government-funded research facilities that could possibly have the surgical knowledge to pull off the killings while able to access to neurotoxin. But so far, nothing has come up. I always thought that was an odd compound to use on a victim. Have you tried looking at Fisher Industries? Fisher Industries? What made you think of Fisher Industries? Yesterday, at my OBGYN appointment, I was reading an article in some business magazine about Richard Fisher, the CEO of the company, and he was talking about some research projects his company was considering, including one that involved the use of saxitoxin. I didn't connect to that until just now, when he mentioned the physical evidence. I know I'm just a children's book author, but for some reason that article seemed to get stuck in my memory. I was too shocked for words for at least a minute. But after Monica called my name for the 100th time, I hugged her tight, kissed her fiercely, and then smiled. Babe, you're a genius. Thank you. I gotta go. I gotta get to the office and get my paperwork. I love you. And with that, I was off, making my way out of the shower, drying myself off, and getting dressed in my suit quickly as I ran for the apartment door. The gears in my mind were churning wildly. I knew I had to get to the field office quickly, because my instincts were already telling me that before the day was out, the LA Slayer would either be caught or be dead. And that's it. That was parts 1 through 3 of chapter 1 of my short story and novella, Epicenter. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull the audio off for my podcast from the video itself yet, or if I'm going to try and do a separate audio. But if this is going to be pulled, the audio is going to be pulled off this video, for all my podcast listeners, thank you for listening. If you're listening on the podcast and you'd like to watch the video, please check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/gunslingerpimp, or you can look up my channel name, which is just Anthony Avina right now. I'm thinking of changing it, but I haven't yet, so just look up my name. If you're watching here on the channel, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you'd like to just listen to the podcast/audio from this reading, you can go to iTunes and look for Edge of Sanity is the name of my podcast, or you can look up my name. You can also go on Podomatic and look for those too as well. If you have the Podomatic iPhone app, or for Android, whatever devices that app is for, or you can go on the computer and listen to it. So, thanks for watching/listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know when I'll do the next reading. I'm going to be kind of trying to spread these out, so it leaves a little bit of suspense in between each video. Next episode, or next video/audio podcast, we'll be delving into part 4 of chapter 1. Possibly part 5 too, I'm not sure yet. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, one way or another. Peace out, guys.